Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself.
You're going to say there's some Stratus faction tonight on this channel because what is going on, guys? This is the Club of the Man 1993. And we've had a SmackDown review posted on this channel tonight involving Trish Stratus. We had a Turn Alert involving Trish Stratus. And now we had the next WWE 24 review on Trish Stratus. And also, I goofed up all the graphics again on the last two videos. So I've had to fix them. So I'm going a little nuts. But I'm ready to be done. Well, I'm glad to be completed, as we are now on episode number 23 of this WWE 24 review series. 23 out of 37. And we got a couple good ones coming up too. But this is the last of the season 5 section. Seasons 6 and 7 are the last ones that have a handful of episodes. And then 8, 9, and 10 have just one episode to it. But anyways, But yeah, this is WWE 24 Trish Stratus, in which we talk about Trish Stratus's career leading up to what was supposed to look like her final match ever at Summerslam 2019 in Toronto, when she had a match against the new generation's best, Charlotte Flair. But of course, Trish has come back since and had a few handful of appearances and wrestled a few other matches. And she is about to wrestle another match as well. So this was not Trish's true retirement match. But it was her first singles match, actually, in 13 years it was when it happened. But we're going to just talk about the career of Trish and go from there. So Trish Stratus, as we all know, is from Canada. She originally was going to York University when she went off to college to study nursing. I think she wanted to be a doctor. But then York had a university-wide strike in 1997. So that basically kind of put a halt on her plans, so she had to go a different direction. I believe the story goes that she was working as a receptionist, and she's always been into fitness and all this and that. When someone had mentioned the idea of her being a fitness model. So she went into modeling, and she was always a wrestling fan as well. Through that, she made some connections with Rob Hutchinson, which she trained to become a wrestler. Of course, she walks in, there's all these other guys there. Then there's this little blonde girl who walks in. He's like, okay, Blondie, what do you want to do? And she wanted to be a wrestler. And, back then at the time, Attitude Era, they're doing things off the wall. Nobody took women's wrestling seriously. It was all just to, a different avenue to get eyes on the product. The sex appeal, as we always say. Which is kind of the route Trish had to go to learn. I believe she signed her first WWE contract in 1999. She debuted, I think, a few months later in 2000. And she was the valet for Test and Albert. Test and Albert. Of course, known as TNA. And like Trish said in the documentary, being a valet gave her the opportunity to learn. Because Trish, although we know her now as being very athletic, can put on great matches, even today, her match, of course, with Becky Lynch inside the steel cage at Payback 2023 was an outstanding match. Even, of course, the Charlotte match also she had at SummerSlam was also outstanding as well. But back in the day, she was pretty green. She did train, I believe, at the same gym also with Edge and Christian, which Christian has mentioned before that she was one of the few girls who would ask the guys, hey, how is my match? Obviously showing that although, yes, she's a model and whatnot, she legitimately wanted to wrestle. She wanted to kind of like, set a new mark. And of course, when Lita came in as well, they were both like the pioneers of getting that all started. Like I said, they mainly talked about her run as a valet with Tess and Albert. They did not talk about any of her run as Vince McMahon's mistress and the whole bark like a dog and all that stuff. They did. I'm very surprised they didn't go into that, because this was before all the accusations against Vince came out and whatnot. So I'm very surprised they didn't go into that either. They did talk about also, again, how both her and Lita were trying to be, pioneers of women's wrestling. Be the first of that group to show that, hey, women can actually wrestle. And it led to them main eventing Raw for the women's championship. And I believe Charlotte Flair said she was in the crowd for that match. I can't remember. Oh yeah, also, I forgot to mention too, she did win her first women's championship when they brought in the WWE Women's Championship at Survivor Series 2001 in like a 6-pack challenge. She was in that match, and again, still kind of green, but that's when she won her first women's match. Again, they kind of breezed through things quickly. They jumped also to, in 2006, she just turned 30, and at the time, her mom had been diagnosed with some sort of cancer. And she also at the time felt fulfilled as a wrestler. So she decided that she was not going to renew her contract. But Vince talked her into staying for a couple more months, because he wanted her to have her last match in Toronto, and it was going to be for the women's championship. And who did she fight in Toronto? Lita, which at the time, Lita, of course, was the heel valet to Edge, which I think Lita's mentioned she didn't like that. She didn't like, having to play that role and whatnot. But once again, probably because, again, she wanted to be a wrestler and not just a sex appeal object. But we all know the story. Trish won her 7th and, as of now, final women's championship that night at Unforgiven in September of 2006, and she retired as women's champion. Following her retirement, of course, she started her yoga business. Her and her husband were settling down, and she was ready to be a mother. It took a while because of the damage and, the mental stability of, being on the road for 300 some days a year and whatnot, all kind of caught up to her. And they had a little bit of a hard time for a while having children. But then she did finally have her first child, Max, in 2013, which I didn't know. But Trish had actually first shared it to the world that she was going to be a mother at her Hall of Fame induction. And she basically said, in September, we're going to be bringing in a little Stratusfaction. She now has 2 kids now. Seems like she's a great mom. I'm pretty sure she is. And of course, she also mentioned how her mother was cancer-free, and she was there that night, and how, although she was champion, her mother is the true champion as well. I didn't look up, though, to see if her mother is, in fact, still alive yet or not. I didn't get to check, because I remember when I did the Becky Lynch one, and when she announced that he had gotten sick, I did look up, but he actually did die in, like, 2021, I think it was, or something. I don't know if Trish's mom is still alive. But, Trish did mention, she just, continued being a businesswoman and keeping herself busy. I think she did get a movie role as well, too. So it's like, yeah, she felt, completed with wrestling in 2006, and she was ready to move on to new things. And of course, she was still a fan and kept up with the product, and, saw that, for a while, things, did kind of go back to what it was. It was Divas matches and just not that great. But then, of course, this new era of like Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, and Bayley and all of them. And she kind of, like she said, like, she would like dip her toe back in, but step right back out again. Just like, not just want to be involved and to give back and whatnot, but also step back and not take away too much of a spotlight. Kind of like when she made her appearance at Raw 1000 with that segment with Heath Slater and whatnot. But she kind of did want to be involved a little bit with this new generation, which led to her having her first match, which when she entered number 30 in the Women's Royal Rumble, the first Women's Rumble 2018, you had to have Trish in that Rumble match. By the way, I forgot, how many Rumbles has Trish been in? I feel like she's been in 3, because it was the first one, it was this year's. I know she was in. I feel like she was in one more. I feel like let me see here. Let me look this up really quick. How many Royal Rumble matches has Trish Stratus been in? You see here. Only 2. I'm surprised. I thought she was in more. I don't know why I feel like she was in more Rumble matches than that. But yeah, just 2018 and 2025 apparently were the only Rumble she was in. I know Lita was in a couple of them. Michelle McCool, I feel like, has been in the most Rumbles out of any celebrity. But, yeah, that's a little surprising. I thought Trish was in more Rumble matches. I guess not. But, anyways, so she still, like, in some ways wanted to make an appearance during this era, which is what led her to be in the first and, as of now, only all-women's pay-per-view Evolution 2018. Now, originally, they didn't talk about this, but originally, that was supposed to be a singles match with her and Alexa Bliss. But that was during a time where Alexa's health was kind of in question. So to be safe, they then made it a tag match with Trish and Lita versus Alexa Bliss and Mickie James. Mickie James and Lita were apparently supposed to have a singles match as well. But of course, we all know Alexa did get hurt and it ended up being Trish and Lita versus Mickie James and Alicia Fox. Ugh. I was never a fan of Alicia Fox, as we all remember. But, so they had that match, but Trish said, like, she wanted that one more singles match. So, in 2019, she got a call and asked to be at a couple autograph signings for Summerslam in Toronto. And that's what she kind of thought, what if you have, it's her home as well, Toronto. What if you had her have that one last match, and it's kind of like a passing of the torch match? And, of course, she viewed Charlotte Flair, who didn't have anything to do for that Rumble, for that SummerSlam, because I think it was Becky and Natalya for the Raw Women's title, and I think Bayley took on Ember Moon for the SmackDown Women's title, I believe it was. So Charlotte had nothing to do. So she pitched the idea to Vince, and Vince loved it. So, of course, she trained for the match, and she had the match, and she treated it as her farewell match. Which, again, we all know is not the case again, because she did come back and was part of that run with, she was at WrestleMania 39, where she teamed up with Lita and Becky Lynch, taking on Damage Control, and we all know she turned heel and feuded with Becky in 2023, which, again, the matches were good, but the promos in that were awful, as I mentioned in the turn alert I did tonight as well, and so forth there. But yeah, Trish Stratus, is definitely a very successful woman. Inside the ring, outside the ring, she has a great personality. She's been through several generations, of course, with wrestling as well. Definitely being a valet, but also making a difference, and also saying that, men can do what women can do as well. And I still think, even though Charlotte Flair has more championships than her, she's definitely one of the greatest of all time. That's for sure. I still may give Trish that rub because, personally, like I said, because Charlotte Flair's whole gimmick has been her nothing winning championships. Trish has been able to tell other stories with other avenues as well. Again, as a valet, as a character, and as a wrestler as well. So, legitimately, not just being funny, but thank you, Trish. As the respect she for sure deserves. She's a Hall of Famer. She's a great businesswoman. Very successful inside and outside the ring. And I'm sure a pretty good mother and wife as well. I almost said mother and husband. Mother and wife. But we talked about a lot of Trish Stratus tonight. I'm sure you guys are ready to move on to something new, which we will. The next time we do a 24 video, it will also be the last, because we took a break from the WrestleMania 35 topics. We are now going to, in the next video, do the next 24 is a recap of behind the scenes from WrestleMania 35, which is the WrestleMania I went to. And after that, we have a couple of other good ones too. We have one on R-Truth. We have one on Edge's comeback. I think we have one on Ric Flair. There's a couple that I know I haven't seen. Like I haven't seen the Keith Lee or the Big E one. And stuff, of course, as well from the pandemic era too that we'll talk about too coming up. So some good topics we have coming up in this 24 review series. But that's my review on the Trish Stratus one. What are you guys' thoughts on this review of the Trish Stratus 24 special? Leave your guys' thoughts down in the comments section below. Slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter as well to ClubWithTheMan93 and also follow me on Instagram to ClubWithTheMan1993. And until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you all later. Have a great rest of your night. And do not forget, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself. And that is not just an opinion, my friends. That is a fact of life. Yeah!